Welcome in to the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we will go over the top potential trade destinations for Lamar Jackson. Where could he ultimately move on if the Ravens decide to make a trade of sorts? We'll go over the top 5 destinations, also break down the potential trade assets that the Ravens could acquire as well, coming up in just a few moments. Before we do that, though, we told you that this week we are battling our fellow AFC North channels here at Chat Sports in a sub-battle this week to see who can get the most new subscribers. And I got to tell you, we're playing a little bit from behind right now. Ravens channel this week, we've had about 20 new subs. Steelers Talk has added 78. Browns Report's added 42. So we got a ways to go, okay, Ravens fans? I need you to subscribe to the channel for the latest happenings in your favorite team. We're talking draft, free agency, trades. We're telling you everything you need to know about your favorite teams. So not only do I want you to subscribe so you know the latest Ravens information, but also so we can prove that this is the best fan base in the AFC North. Subscribe now. We'll get started with today's show. So here's how this is going to work. I have 5 teams that could be of interest of making a move for Lamar Jackson. I've ranked them 1 through 5 of who's most likely to make a move, in my humble opinion. And I'm going to go over the potential trade assets of what the Ravens could acquire if they were to make a deal involving Lamar Jackson. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 on the list, no surprise, is the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts have been trying to replace Andrew Luck for about 5 years now. And they've done different journeyman veteran quarterbacks, most recently Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers. Am I missing anybody? I think I've gone through all of them in that stretch. It has been very unstable for that organization. There's a belief that they could go for one of these top quarterbacks in the draft, but if they could make a move for Lamar Jackson, I'm sure they would really like to do so if they get that opportunity. Now, here is what they could potentially give up, what the Ravens could acquire. Not only could the Ravens pick up the number 4 overall pick in this year's draft, they could get a first-round pick next year from the Colts. Also some notable players, DeForest Buckner, whose name's already been mentioned in some trade rumors. Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the NFL, and Michael Pittman would be kind of their top assets that they could potentially package in a trade deal of some sort. So we'll see. With that said, got a few more teams to get to, but first, our pinned comment today. What do you think? It's not a foregone conclusion Lamar gets traded. There could still be a deal done in place or play on the franchise tag of some sorts. What do you think? Will Lamar get traded or not? Our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Type Y for yes, type in for no. If you think Lamar Jackson gets traded or not, let me know in the comment section. Y for yes, in for no. Number 2 on our list is the Atlanta Falcons. And the Falcons have been one of the most talked about teams for several months when it comes to the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. Now, the Falcons moved on, of course, from Matt Ryan, what was it, about a year or 2 ago now. Last year they go to Marcus Mariota. Things didn't go so great with him. Desmond Ridder took over, and he played decent, but the jury's still out on Desmond Ridder. And so with that said, the trade assets for the Falcons include not only Desmond Ridder, but a couple of really good playmakers that I think the Ravens would be very interested in having. Drake London and Kyle Pitts, who were some of the top skill position players drafted within the last couple of seasons. They also hold the number 8 overall pick, and they hold a first-round pick next year. So the Falcons have plenty of pieces. If they want to make a trade, they could pull this off. And not to mention, they have the cap space. They could pay Lamar Jackson a long-term contract as well. Remember, there's going to be a limit when it comes to what trade partners the Ravens could work with because only so many teams could afford to pay that money that Lamar Jackson wants. So the Falcons are very interesting, and unlike the Colts with the Falcons, you'd be getting him out of the AFC. Number 3 on our list, we stay within the DMV. That's where we find the Washington Commanders. Now, the Commanders, another team that has gotten a lot of traction. They bring in a new offensive coordinator with Eric Bieniemy coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs, where he had a lot of success with Patrick Mahomes in that Chiefs offense. And he's looking to kind of replicate what he did in Kansas City. Now, that's easier said than done when you have Sam Howell and not Patrick Mahomes under center. But nonetheless, the Commanders are what they believe a quarterback away from being a contending team. Lamar Jackson could put the Commanders to that next tier in the NFC. They hold the 16th overall pick. They also have a first-round pick next year. And you look at some of the players that they could move on from. Sam Howell, we haven't seen a whole lot of, so we don't know exactly what he would bring to the table necessarily. Scary Terry, one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. He has been a problem for defenses to deal with, one of the better young wide receivers. He's already got his new contract. His money is there. And then there's Chase Young, who was outstanding when he was coming out of college out of the Ohio State. He's dealt with some injuries over his early time in the NFL, but no question is a very, very talented player. We didn't put Daron Payne on this list because they just gave him a new deal. They're not going to be trading Daron Payne, but the other three options, it could be possible for them if they want to make a trade for Lamar Jackson there. So, a couple more teams to get to here in just a second. Before we do, if Lamar Jackson is traded, if the Ravens do decide to move on, where will he most likely end up? Do you agree with me that Indianapolis is the team that would be the most likely trade destination, or is it someone else, or is it somebody we haven't talked about today? What is the most likely landing spot for Lamar Jackson if he moves on from the Baltimore Ravens? Tell me in the comments section where you think that is, where we could see Lamar end up if he is traded, what makes the most sense. The NFL Draft is just around the corner, and good news, Ravens draft hats are on sale now. And here's the thing, folks. These draft hats that you're seeing on your screen, these are the exact same hats that a Ravens rookie or other Ravens rookies, whatever it may be, are going to be wearing on draft night, throughout the draft. When their name is called by Roger Goodell, they're going to put on this hat. So you can get yours now before the draft. Then come draft night, you're going to be wearing the same exact stuff that the pros have. So this is a pretty cool deal. And wouldn't it be cool to be showing up to your draft party and you already have the hat before the players themselves even get them? So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and get yours now. These things, they look really good. I can tell you that much right now. These are some of the best designs of any team in the National Football League. Go ahead and get yours today. Chatsports.com/RavensDraft to get one of these draft hats. While supplies last, they are selling hot. Go ahead and get yours today. Chatsports.com/RavensDraft. Number 4 on the list is the Detroit Lions. Now, Detroit actually might be the most attractive for the Ravens of any of these teams listed to make a move. But the reason why we have them 4 on this list is because they kind of already got a good thing going. You look at some of these other teams, like the Falcons have a lot of issues, right? The Colts have a lot of problems. Detroit is very close to being a playoff team as is. They were just on the verge last year. And so, do you want to rock the boat? Maybe not. But if you add Lamar Jackson, you could make things very interesting. And here's why this is the most attractive trade partner, I think, for Baltimore on their end of things, is because of what the Lions have to offer. You got the number 6 overall pick. You also have the number 18 overall pick in this year's draft, and you still have a first-round pick in 2024. That's 3 first-round picks in the next 2 years that you could potentially acquire. And we know the Ravens, if they're going to make a trade, are going to want at least 3 first-round picks. What if you took all those first-round picks now instead of having to wait year by year by year for 3 first-round picks to come into the fold? That is very interesting. Also, you could get a veteran quarterback back in Jared Goff potentially, who is coming off one of, if not the very best seasons of his career, and he's still very young. You got St. Brown at receiver. You have some other good weapons in the skill position spots for Detroit. This, to me, for the Ravens' sake, is the most attractive team on the list. But because they're not a bad football team, I don't have them number 1 because they're in a good circumstance. They're trending upward with Dan Campbell and company right now. Last on the list is the New England Patriots. And if you ask Meek Mill, this deal could be actually closer than most people think. Now, Robert Kraft said when he was exchanging texts with Meek Mill that if a deal for Lamar is going to happen, it's ultimately Bill Belichick's decision. And I'll say this much. Bill Belichick has been a believer in Mac Jones. And so I'll say this. You look at Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones has got potential. He had a very good rookie year, had a down year last year, but had awful coaching on that offensive staff with Matt Patricia, who's just a fraud. I mean, anyone that uses a pencil when they have a laminated play card is guaranteed fraud in my book, as far as I'm concerned. He was put in a bad situation last year, but Mac Jones could be a good trade piece. Bailey Zappi looked good. Remember him when he filled in for Mac Jones when Mac Jones went down? He could be a trade piece as well. Devontae Parker, also at the wide receiver position, not a bad player. You have the 14th overall pick this year, the 2024 first-round pick as well. The Patriots have some assets. They could potentially make a move if they want Lamar Jackson on that front. And, if you can't have Lamar as your quarterback, if you want to go young, Mac Jones, that might be the best quarterback situation you could potentially find yourselves in the Ravens. If you're going to go with a veteran and it's not Lamar, your best ceiling might be a move with New England to bring in Mac Jones. Where would you like to see Lamar Jackson get traded to? If the Ravens say we're done and we're looking to make a move, when we talk return on investment, the guys that you could bring back, and then also factoring in, okay, maybe you could get Mac Jones from New England, but do you want to give Darth Vader, Bill Belichick, Lamar Jackson? That might be bad news for the rest of the league. I don't know if you want to do that, if it's really worth that. That's another factor you have to involve here. Where would you like to see Lamar Jackson get traded to if the Ravens move on from him? Let me know in the comments section. You also interact with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there. And I shall see you next time right here on the Ravens Rundown. Thanks for joining us.